Hi, welcome back to MF Corner. Last week we spoke about small AMCs and which is the way to assess them. Today we touch upon a related topic, new AMCs, how to judge them, should you invest through them and how to assess their growth potential. Mohit Gang, CEO and co-founder of Moneyfront, joins me. Mohit, hi, good afternoon. I'm sure you heard that chat with Trust Mutual Fund before the break. So they've launched their new fund. We also hear that, other outfits like NJ Invest, Incred could begin their operations soon. Zerodha, Bajaj Finance have applied for a license. So, the thing we want to focus on today is what should investors look at when they assess a new AMC?
Yes, thank you, Sumaira. First of all, I'd like to wish Sandeep and his team all the very best. I think Indian markets are tough, but there is enough and more opportunity for new players to come and get themselves set in the territory. Just to give a very small parallel, Sumaira, we are a fairly small and nascent industry in India on the mutual fund side. We have 44 AMCs now, with Trust joining the bandwagon. US is over 9,000 AMCs, right? And they have around $17+ trillion of assets. We are nowhere around that. The penetration is US is like every second household is invested in mutual funds. In India, it's less than 2% when it comes to households investing. So there is huge scope, huge market. Now, as far as investors are concerned, obviously the existing investors are prudent enough that they would like to go with established brands and names and everything. But when it comes to new AMCs who are entering it, I think first and foremost, what needs to be looked at is the credibility of the promoter group and the sponsors. Basically, who are the sponsors? What's the group like? What's their existing businesses? Are they from the same line? Potential conflict of interest could be a very big concern area if they are into distribution or if they have their own distribution arms. So those have to be well taken care of. And the bigger two factors are the fund managerial team. So who are the key fund managers? What's their background? What's their experience like? How well have they handled their previous assignments, or were they into the same line of fund management previously? And one last thing which investors should take care and keep a note of is the operational and the servicing network of the new AMC. Look, India still is a very, very remotely spread out country, and tier 3 and tier 4 cities don't have too many digital options available. So still the RTAs are well in vogue, the branch offices are well in vogue, right? So if the new AMC is coming into the market, investors need to figure out whether they have the ability and scale to service them at all corners of the country. So those are like key parameters one should consider while taking a look at new AMC.
But Mohit, is there only caution, or do new AMCs also bring something to the table? I mean, surely there must be some benefits of investors choosing someone who's just brand new.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Look, and I can't draw a better analogy than the Indian cricket team who won at Gaba today. They've created wonders. Absolutely, it was a new bunch of team, new players, all out there, full with energy, passion, trying and creating history and records, right? And that's what a new fund house can do. The new ability, the new talent, the new fund managerial team, they have all the energy. They can just go out and do a lot of experimentation in the market, which the established brands typically don't do, right? So there is that strength. That the new guy will try and establish himself, will do something extra, will try and generate that alpha to create a sort of name or brand in the industry. So that's a bigger plus. They typically try and also figure out gaps in the industry, right? So they will try and figure out what's the gap in the shelf, and they'll try and get their offering out there to kind of match the investor's need. So I think those are few pluses of the new AMCs. And at many places, Sumaira, what happens is, a smaller AUM is a boon, actually, when it comes to, let's say, launching a small cap scheme or a sectoral scheme. If you're launching a new fund or a new scheme, you can very well be assured that the new AMC will not be able to mobilize a huge corpus. They will stagger the amounts which they raise and invest gradually. And that's where investing in a small cap theme through the new AMC can actually prove to be beneficial. So there are many corners where investors can actually find merit in new names.
Yeah, you can be a small fish in a big pond, you can be a big fish in a small pond. It just basically depends on the nature of the pond, right? But Mohit, whatever fund new AMC launches, right? I mean, whichever category they choose, there would be an existing fund there, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, I mean, most of the time we advise that, don't go for an NFO. Let that fund, give it a year or two to perform, to establish itself, to prove itself before you put money in it. Here we're saying not just a new fund, a new AMC itself. So, if there is already an existing fund, whatever gap they're trying to fill, that gap to some extent has been filled, right? So even then, either is it debt or equity, is there anywhere where it makes sense to go for one of these NFOs?
Okay, so I think let's take it category wise. When it comes to debt, honestly, the larger the fund size, the bigger the name, the better it is. For simple reasons, the debt market is an OTC market and kind of an illiquid market in India. So the bigger names, the bigger brands have that wherewithal to go and trade in bigger lots. They can actually capture better yields because they trade in larger lots, right? So typically, if you have to trade in GSECs or individual bonds, the minimum tranche size is 5 crores, and for money market instruments, the tranche size is 25 odd crores for a debt scheme, right? So when you go out, if let's say if a new scheme raises only 200 odd crores, then it becomes very difficult for them to diversify across multiple set of issuers, across different papers, and also to capture the best possible yields which are floating around in the market. So in debt, a small size, a new AMC will actually be at a bit of a loss, basically, because they don't have those economies of size and economies of scale in the market. So in debt, it is better if you stick to larger AUMs and bigger names, unless the theme is very compelling, or unless you know that the fund manager who's going to manage has a specific niche area of expertise. So if the talent is, let's say, he can manage credit very well, and you want to take an exposure into that with that particular name into credit segment, then perhaps you might go ahead. But otherwise, in debt, it's better to stick with the larger whales in the ocean. When it comes to equity, look, so as I told you previously, small cap sectoral themes, the smaller the AUM, sometimes that becomes beneficial because fund managers can nimbly move between a few names and liquidity is not enough, so they can buy in smaller quantities. So in those areas, a new AMC can actually be good. If the fund manager is good and if the research team is good, then perhaps you might just want to go with a new theme out there. Or if that theme is particularly lacking in your portfolio and it kind of aids you in your overall financial plan, then you might just want to go with a new theme which someone is launching. But as you rightly said, it's very difficult to find new themes in the market these days. But in equities, still there could be some areas or some specific segments where you can find new themes or new things. One bigger disadvantage, Sumaira, which I've seen with bigger names, is that most of these bigger names and brands have now engaged in index hugging, which means that fund managers typically try and match the benchmark, and they just want to preserve their brand and identity because the schemes are too large to fail, right? So they don't want to lose AUM, so they don't take those extra chances or those extra calls in the portfolio, which actually can be a plus point for a new AMC and a new manager, where he can try some experimentation in the portfolio. He doesn't have pressure to like really hug the index or whatever, so he can go for that extra alpha in his portfolio. And typically I've seen new fund managers will actually go about taking that extra iota of risk to provide and generate larger alpha in the portfolio. So those can be few good points about newer AMCs and newer fund managers.
All right, Mohit, but importantly, judge each one of them individually and not as a basket. Thanks very much, Mohit, for giving us this checklist. With that, we'll wind down on MF Corner, and as we